How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Davey on everything, and welcome back to the podcast. This is episode number 8 of the solo show. Before we get started here, I'm going to plug our sponsor because I always forget to, and it ends up at the end of the video, and you guys don't give a fuck. So please go check out www.brokenglasssupply.ca. Go check it out, and maybe you'll see something you'd like to purchase. So, and one more thing before we get this rolling, if you could like, comment, and subscribe on this video, go check us out on all other platforms, including TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Rumble, Twitter, fucking Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the whole thing, boys. If you could go check that out, that would be fantastic. Okay, guys, so what we're going to get into today, I'm going to tell you a couple fucking stupid stories that I have in my belt, under my belt. So here we go.
And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am.
Alright, guys, so the first story I want to tell today is another story of employment, my employment history, I should say. So this story here, it falls in the timeline of like 2013, I think, 2013. I had just finished, this is probably in like September, October-ish. I had just finished graduating from my 2-year associate's degree diploma from Coconut College here in Kitchener. And, it was a weird time because I was trying to make my way into a field of industry, trying to find a job in what I graduated in, but I was struggling. So at the time, I was working full-time at Goodwill as a donation sorter, and I was pretty fucking miserable because I felt that I was kind of failing because I was still, I had this perception that people thought that I was doing nothing with my life. So when customers would come into Goodwill to donate things, I had just kind of felt like ashamed of it because I wasn't doing shit. Like at least that was the perception was I was just wasting my time as this guy working at Goodwill, making fuck all money, and I had nothing going on in my life. But in the background, I was trying to find work. I was trying to find apprenticeships, a company to work for. But I was in my head and. Anyways, I was working full-time at Goodwill, and I thought, man, I just got to do anything else but this. I need to work my way into something, right? So I had a really good friend of mine that I had known since I was like 13 years old, and he was a real hustler. I unfortunately haven't spoken to him in a few years now, but, we used to hang out all the fucking time. And this guy was a real hustler, he wanted to get paid. He didn't want to work at like a 9-to-5 kind of job. He's one of those guys that he would always looking for some kind of opportunity to make like a sales or commission kind of job. And he just liked the idea of going out there and just having some kind of control over how much money he can make. And at least that's how he thought anyways. He did a lot of door-to-door sales. And we all know those guys that come to your door and trying to sell you, there's a slew of them. And this guy worked for all of them, basically. He did meat packages. So you could buy you could buy a freezer full of meat, and he did that. He did the natural gas packages. He did the furnace and air conditioning, which, there's another story with that because I also did that through him. But that's not today's story. But he's gotten me 2 jobs essentially via his door-to-door sales. He's done them all, man. He's been the guy that knocks on your door and is very pushy and tries to sell you some bullshit. And I think he was pretty good at it. Because he was making a living. I'm not sure what he was doing as far as an income, but he was doing okay enough to survive anyway. So I'm at this point where I'm like desperate for something different than what I'm doing. And I didn't want to quit my full-time job because I didn't mind working there as an easy job there at Goodwill, but I just wanted to have something with a bit, I think honestly just a better title. So when this dude was selling windows and doors door to door, I was like, I'm not doing shit else. And I need some kind of work. So maybe this is worth looking into. Maybe he's onto something, and I think this is a scam, and I think that, I just always kind of laughed at it because I thought he was bullshit. And you're gonna find out at the end of the story that it may or may not have been bullshit. But I said, maybe I got to give this a chance. And so I asked him to get me a gig. Like, hey man, can you at least get me an interview with your boss? And maybe I can learn the ways of selling door to door and annoying the fuck out of people in their mornings. So that's what he did. I mean, these kind of companies are looking for young, kind of almost desperate people that are willing to try anything to make a buck. So that's the kind of people that they hired. So anyways, he said, okay, yep. I talked to his boss. His boss called me, and he said, okay, man, what I'm going to do is I want to try you out. So if you could come for this job interview, we can meet, and I'll see what if you're into it. If I like you as a worker, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can make this happen, and I'll get you a job. I said, all right, cool. Yeah, no problem. He said, all right. And this should have been a red flag, and it was. I definitely understood that this was not normal. He says, okay, meet me at the local Tim Hortons in Cambridge, and we'll do a job interview there. I said, all right, whatever. He's probably a busy man. He just wants to do this on the fly. I'm assuming he had an office. Like, at this point, I assumed he had an office. But so that morning of the interview, it's like a 8 o'clock interview type of thing. My buddy, he has this shitty 2001 Nissan Maxima. He picks me up, and he says, yeah, I'll give you a ride to the interview because I'm going to meet my boss there as well. And I said, okay, that's fucking strange. Like, why, don't you guys have some kind of meeting, some kind of office or that you can meet at, or guys are going to canvass a certain area, so why wouldn't you meet there? Either way, I was like, all right, let's go, man. I got the day off. Let's see what this is about. So, buddy, my friend drives me to Cambridge. We meet this guy at the Tim Hortons. We sit down at the Tim Hortons table. And Tim Hortons, if you don't know, is like a coffee place, a coffee and donuts place here in Canada. So I go into the restaurant. I see this guy. He's, kind of almost what I expected. He was, and hey, no shade at these people, but he wasn't very tall, very bad receding hairline, golf shirt, khakis. Like, he looked like the biggest douchebag. Like, he looked like a classic, like, pushy salesperson. So we sit down, and as we're sitting there, other people start to roll up. There's probably like another 5 or 6 random ass people to me, young people that are sitting down with us. So it turns out that I'm having this job interview with not only, I think there must have been at least one other person interviewing for it, but also his entire team was sitting there because what was going to happen was he was going to send us out in this particular area afterwards. So this guy, what he does is he says, all right, man, why do you want this job? The classic questions and shit, right? He says, all right, well, what did you go to school for? I said, well, I went for heating and cooling. And then he asked me a couple questions in particular that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. One was, what is the dollar value of the bills that you have to pay? What are your expenses every month? I said, well, in my head, I'm thinking, fuck, that's a kind of a personal question. But I said, I don't know. I was living at my parents' at the time, and I didn't have that many bills, if I'm being honest with you. I really didn't because, I'm like 20 years old, and I just fresh out of college, and I didn't really have fuck all for bills. So I tell him what I have. It's like minimal. Basically, he tells me like, all right, I like to have people that have all kinds of expenses because they're more driven. They've got that hustler mentality, and they're going to be willing to put in the work to make the money for him, right? Because how it worked, it was kind of a pyramid scheme kind of thing, right? Like, he had his team for this windows and doors company, and then they would get commissions when they sold windows or sold doors. But really, he's making a bigger commission, and then I'm assuming the company above him makes a bigger commission, and et cetera, et cetera. So he's like, no, I like to have people that are, they're desperate basically for money because they're going to be willing to work for me. They're really going to try and make sales. So I thought that was kind of skeezy already, but I said, fuck it. I said, all right, man. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I'm willing to work, and I'm willing to give this a shot. So he says, all right, man, well, what we're going to do is we're not going to pay you today, but we're going to put you out in the streets and you're going to go and team up with one of our salesmen and you can, he's going to show you the ropes and like see if this is something you want to do and blah, blah, blah. I should have walked away at that point, but like I said, I had nothing else to do anyway. So I said, fuck it, I'll give this a shot. I hit the streets with this dude. Okay, no, what happened was my buddy drove a bunch of us to a subdivision in Cambridge. So what happened was my buddy put a few of us in a car and he drove us to the subdivision in Cambridge and kind of spread us out in the subdivision. I got teamed up with this kid. He was like 18 years old. When I tell you this kid was fucking bizarre, like he was like insanely weird. So him and his brother, they were the top 2 salesmen of this sales team. And I don't know what that meant. Like I don't know how much money they were making. This kid's telling me, we're walking through the streets and he starts telling me his life story. He had whole his life grown up in the carnival or some kind of like, you know, those fairs that come town to town. I guess maybe like his family was very involved in that and that was their lifestyle. So he was on the road and he didn't really go to conventional high school or anything. He just kind of did homeschooling and he finished very early because like it probably was not like a real education. But either way, he finished school and him and his brother were like what you think carnies are like. That's how they were like just like fast talking, weird, just like, you know, not normally socialized people. They were strange guys and they looked the same, which is, they weren't twins, but you know, they were weird dudes. So he tells me about how he finished college and like, you know, some of his shit was bullshit for sure. He told me he finished college in like 8 months and and all these stories he's telling me like really quickly, like speaking like I'm speaking now, just off the cuff, just rambling on about all of his life story. Anyways, we're walking through the subdivision, right? Boom, 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 boom. So he's like, all right, we're going to do this door right here. I said, all right, cool. He knocks on the door. He takes a step back kind of off the porch. And then he proceeds to do his pitch. You know, a lady would answer the door and he would go, you know, take this fucking deep breath because he's about to machine gun off this stupid fucking speech that they would give to all the people that they're trying to sell windows to. So he'd go, hey, how's it going? My name is, and then I'm with Windows and Doors and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, what a nice day it is. Hey, the weather's great. Anyways, we're selling Windows and Doors. We like, and like, no, that's not an exaggeration. That's what he would do. And it like, apparently was working because he was the guy. He was that top salesman selling door to doors, selling Windows door to door. So he'd ramble on this insanely quick machine gun speech, and then he would go, okay, are you interested? And the people would just be there with this like state of confusion. And I'll tell you, I'm just observing and watching all this shit go down because I don't know how to sell door to door, but I'm watching him. And they said, he's the guy. He's the best fucking guy we got. Hit the streets with him. He'll teach you how to do it. But when I'm watching these people's faces that are at their door, they're just like confused and kind of like, what in the fuck is going on here? And get the fuck off of my property type of thing. Anyways, we did a bunch of doors with him. I did a bunch of doors with him. So we walked to a bunch of doors and he would do that same fucking bit on every door we went to. And then, you know, people would be like, all right, no, I'm good, man. And he'd be like, are you sure? You sure? Like, I'd be like, they'd be like, no, man. Like, they would be fairly nice, but they'd be, no, get the fuck out of here kind of thing. So after doing a bunch of doors with this guy, in my head, I'm like, all right, this is bullshit. I'm not getting paid for one. This can't be how you sell a product. 2, I'm in some random subdivision in a city that I don't know that well. And this guy is a fucking weirdo, and their boss is a jackass. So I'm like, all right, I'm dipping, and I'm not sticking around to continue this out because I'm not going to be doing this. Now, keep in mind, I'm in this random subdivision in a neighboring city that I kind of knew, but not that well, right? Because I hadn't been driving around all that much, and I didn't grow up there or anything, and we're kind of in the outskirts of town. And on top of that, this is like 2013, so smartphones were out, but I didn't have a GPS. Like, you don't have an iPhone with Google Maps. Like, people were just starting to get that technology. Like, people were just starting to get smartphones with data and all that shit. I had an old BlackBerry Bold or something, and I didn't have a data plan that allowed me to use a GPS. So I said, hey, brother, I think, I appreciate it, but this just isn't really for me at all. And he's like, I told him, I said, all right, well, I'm just going to go, man. And, but it's been nice working with you. And all he does is laugh because he's like, good one, man, good one. I'm like, no, I'm serious, man. Like, I'm going to dip. And he's like, well, what the fuck? Where are you going to go, man? Like, how are you going to, do you even know where you are? I said, I have no idea where I am. I don't know how the fuck I'm going to get home, but I'm out because this isn't for me. And he's like, no, man, hold on. Just ride it out, man. Stay with me. You need a ride home. I said, nah, brother, I'll figure this out. I'm not doing this shit anymore. And I literally just turned around and we split ways. I started walking back to where I thought the entrance of the subdivision was, and he just kept going on with his sales. You know, I'm walking for a while because I know I need to find a landmark that I can call someone and get a ride. You know, I need to get a ride home. And I knew that I could get a hold of my mom and she would come pick me up if I could figure out where I was. So I get out of the subdivision. It takes me a while. I get out of the subdivision and I'm at, ironically enough, where I live now is just up the street from where I was canvassing these windows and doors. So I get out of the subdivision and I find like a couple big chain stores that I could, you know, call and be like, hey, I'm near this. I'm on this road. And again, like my mom wouldn't have had GPS either. So, but she knew the city much better than I did. So I called her. I said, hey, can you come pick me up? Like I just went through this crazy fucking orientation selling door to doors, windows and doors, door to door. So I'm like, I'm near here. I'm on this street. I'm not sure exactly where I am, but just drive. Please just drive until you can find me and I'll wave you down and you'll see me walking. Like I'm going to just start walking towards a couple landmarks. So kind of to cap this story off, my mom came and picked me up, saved my ass, gave me a ride home, and we just laughed about it. I told her all about my you know, potential gig, and she just said, yeah, you're a fucking idiot, you know, like you had to know that wasn't going to work out. And I said, hey, I got to try, man. I got to try and find a path for myself here in life. So I had to give it a shot. Okay, the second story I'm going to tell is also about a former employer that I've had, and just some shenanigans that went down between a supervisor and one of the employees. This is another story at my time at Value Village. Probably later on in my, probably about 3/4 of the way through my tenure there, this happened. I had a supervisor. I won't use her real name. We'll call her Stacy. Stacy was cool. Like I always liked working for Stacy. She was really chill. Sometimes I would give her a ride home in my car. She would smoke cigarettes in my car. And you know, she's probably like, I'm like 17 at this point and she's probably like 25. I don't exactly remember her age, but she's a lot older than me, but she was chill, man. She was cool. And Stacy had a niece, and her niece was like, she loved her niece, man. She was her niece was kind of like her daughter almost thing. Her niece was kind of like her daughter type of thing, you know what I mean? She took care of her a lot and blah blah blah. Her niece was dating a guy. Now this guy ended up being a kid that I knew since I was a kid. Since I was like probably 4 years old, I knew this kid. And this kid came from a really, really rough family life. Very poor, terrible father figure that ended up going to prison. You know, he didn't have fuck all, but he was really optimistic, and he was really optimistic, and he was a really nice kid. Honest to God, he was a great kid. And I think now even he seems like he's probably an even better father. I feel like I see him on social media, and he seems like he's really done well with his life. But the niece's boyfriend was this guy. So we're going to call this kid Ben. Stacy says, all right, I'm going to get my niece's boyfriend, Ben, a job here at the store. I'm going to get him in on donations, and he's going to have some employment, and then we're going to help him out because, you know, like I said, his family was in poverty. And Ben is a great kid. And you know what I mean? They did him dirty. I'm going to tell you how they did him dirty. So they get Ben a job. He's working donations. He's doing a great job. He's, you know, nice with the customers. He's good with the donations. He's being appropriate, and he's just working, and he's doing his thing, man. Like, no shade at him. He did a great job. He was there only a short amount of time, maybe a couple months or something, right? And then what happened was him and Stacy's niece broke up. And I'm not sure exactly the details of the breakup, but all I know is Stacy was pissed. And at this point, she's like, fuck this kid. This kid broke my niece's heart and blah, blah, blah. She's all upset about it. In retrospect, I don't think Ben really did anything to the niece except, yeah, he probably broke her heart. They broke up, and Stacy was just sour about it. So Stacy starts to hatch a plan to get rid of Ben because she's like, nah, this kid ain't working for my store anymore. So, doesn't take long for Stacy to come up with a plan, I'll tell you that. So her plan was at their niece's place, Ben had a bunch of his stuff. And like I said, he didn't have a lot, but he had a bunch of his stuff at Stacy's niece's place. Stacy's plan was to basically take Ben's items, everything he had in the world, essentially, and what she was going to donate them to the store, right? Now, you're thinking, oh, that's greasy enough as is. She's just trying to get back to him, and she's going to get rid of his things. But the second part of the plan was to not only donate them, but donate them just before Ben started his shift. So then Ben would come into his shift, look at the donation bin, and see his stuff in the bin. And be like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? These are my items. This is crazy. What the fuck? And one of his items was actually in his Xbox 360, which at the time was still like relatively new. And like I said, he was poor, so that was probably the most expensive item he owned. So that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly what Stacy did. He came in, and he found that his stuff was in the donation bin. And what anyone normal would do was they said, holy shit, this is mine, and they take it back. And he goes and he takes his stuff back. Well, he's on camera doing that, for one thing. And basically what she did was she framed him for stealing. She then said, she caught him on camera taking items and putting them wherever in his backpack or his locker or whatever. And they fired him for stealing shit from the store. And I don't know the conversation that happened up in the office, but somehow she got away with it. And if they probably would have looked back another hour or so on the cameras, they would have saw her donating those things. It could have also been the type of thing where they gave them to a friend of hers and they donated them. So maybe it was harder to trace back then, I think, but they definitely did Ben dirty, and Ben got fired. And you know what? I never really saw him again after that. I remember I saw him one time at Walmart a few years later, and he seemed like he was doing really well. So, it's just a dirty thing to do to a guy, man. Like, they did him dirty. He was just trying to do his fucking job, and they really fucked him over with that. So, and I still have both of them on social media, and, they both seem like they're doing well, and, it was just a different time, I think, in both of their lives. And, I think Stacy probably regrets doing that. I'm not sure, but she seems like she's doing fine too. So, but just poor Ben got done dirty. Okay, guys, so that's the end of this episode. Couple quick stories for you. I hope that you enjoyed them, and if you could go ahead and give this video a like, that would be fantastic. And if you want to just watch clips of these stories, you can go check out our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Like I said earlier on, we got the full roster of platforms that we post shit on. So until next time, guys, I'm Davey on everything. Thank you so much for watching. This has been episode number 8 of the Solo Show, and we will see you next time.
Big cheese, no design on my jacket. Work hard, now I'm changing my bracket. Talk tough, we ain't hear that racket. Dogs came in, you know how to stack it. Don't take it wrong, but I'ma need my ends though. I got tigers on my chest like Kenzo. Rail came, yeah, he putting that Benz though. Carol's here, man, you know you stay 10 toes. Big dog, man, you know I ain't worried. Bent up, so I'm talking real slurry. Got a blast, bro, I'm always in a hurry. Big Drake, shooting dirty like Curry. Take a yerky, ain't know he stay passed up. You don't catch him late night, then you asked out. No, real, how to put it E-class up. They like, X nigga, how you take the fast ride? 2018, it was me and Big